there comes a time within the life of a gamer that the stars align, the blue moon is on the sky, and a corporation, such as Ubisoft, gets to hear what actual gamers think. Because you see, between the holy corporation that produces video games and the plebs that purchase those video games, there is an evil entity. There is a middleman that controls the gatekeepers, which are the California journalists. And these are usually called as the gaming press. And in the mind of the public, when you think about the gaming press, it sounds as if there's different corporations that are competing with each other, when reality cannot be further from the truth. These corporations are all located within California, and it's pretty much like a circle jerk, like the same group of friends, and you get to see it that not only do they spin around the same circles, but when one of them does something really shady and gets banned from a publication, it usually takes a couple of weeks and he pops up at another rivaling publication, and they all share the same ideas, they all share the same opinions, and worst of all is that they speak on behalf of the gaming community. They ignore the plight of the gaming community, which they have insurmountable contempt for, and instead they bring up their own issues in order to pretend that they actually speak for the gamer. For example, I remember when Assassin's Creed, the one with the French Revolution, came out, and the game was a buggy mess. You couldn't even play it, let alone complain about the story or anything, because most people haven't seen the story because they couldn't play it. It had microtransactions, it had a lot of predatory features and loot boxes and all of the bad stuff. And what did the gaming press complain about? Did they bring any of these grievances forward? Did they talk about them? Absolutely not. Their main complaint was that why isn't there a female assassin in the game? Why don't we have a woman? Why is Ubisoft filled with sexists? Why is it a company filled with misogynists? Because the only reason a developer wouldn't have a woman in a historical game as the main character is because sexismus. Clearly. And this is when I really got jaded with the game journalists. It wasn't because necessarily they were pushing feminism. I really didn't care. It was the fact that actual problems that actually plied the community and things that the gamers would want the corporation to be made aware of were completely ignored and sidelined in order to show that, no, you see what the gaming community really wants. And here you have it. The company, Ubisoft, went and said, okay, let's give them a woman. And apparently 2/3 of the players don't give a shit, and they still play a man. Why? For many reasons. But none of these reasons are something that the game journalists even care to investigate, or even care to poll, or ask women. It's like, hey, little girl, why don't you play Assassin's Creed? Why don't you spend your money? Like, tell us, what would you want the company to do in order for you to play Assassin's Creed? That's how journalistic investigation should be done. But if they were to do actual journalistic investigation, then they would have to admit that there are some things that they, the journalists, do not know. And they will never do this because they're arrogant and they like to believe that they're above the community and they have all the answers. I will tell you from my personal experience why women do not like Assassin's Creed. And again, like, this is my personal experience. If you're in another part of the world, maybe the answer is different. If you're from a different age group, maybe the answer is different. But the reality is that the overwhelming amount of women that I know do not like violence. They do not appreciate media which has violence in it. Assassin's Creed is a very violent game. It's in the name, it has assassination. You're killing people. Most of the women that I know do not like entertainment where people die fast. They like entertainment where people die very slowly, like 50 Shades of Grey, for example. It takes a long time for the characters to die there. Most guys that I know like movies where the characters die really fast, like in Matrix. Matrix, Neo goes there, and already 7 people dead. That's what guys like. Now, This is an outlier. All right, it doesn't mean that every single guy in the world likes this. Doesn't mean that every single woman in the world likes this. But there is a science called marketing which figures out trends based on demographic, based on age groups. It's nothing that I'm reinventing the wheel here. I know it sounds sexist when I say it, that women prefer this and men prefer that. But again, like there are people going to a university and studying this shit to get a degree so that they can help companies market their shit. There is no product that appeals to human. Only in the sick mind of a communist does such a thing exist. There is not the shoe that you can market to human. No, like you can market a shoe for workers that it's like a boot that resists in the mud and in the rain, but you wouldn't take that to go dancing ballet, right? Different product for different people. What is wrong with that? What is wrong that most women seem to like Facebook games like Candy Crush and they like to play Farmville and other things? Like if you were to ask me like how can you change Farmville in order to make it more appealing to me so that I would play it, I would tell you to fuck off. Like why would you change it and risk alienating the core audience of people that already like Farmville for what it is? Because this is like the main problem that you have here, right? This is a historical game. So people, I know this is shocking, but despite the fact that the game has a UI, people expect some level of immersion. Okay? And when I think of history and I think about ancient Greece, I think about a very harsh, cruel, and brutal society. It's just like in Game of Thrones. Strict gender roles, strict class roles. It's like you're a peasant, know your place, this is a noble, right? And I like that. Why do I like that? Is that it makes me feel good that I do not live in those times. It makes me feel good that humanity has managed to progress a lot to go from those harsh times and those harsh realities to where we're now. And hopefully in the future more progress can be made. But if you're just going to take all of the 2020 morality and all of the 2020 way of thinking and just shove it into the past, just force it in ancient Greece like that, you're going to ruin the atmosphere. You're going to ruin what makes the game great. And what used to make Assassin's Creed great is the fact that the company would hire an entire team of historians, and they would pride themselves with this. And that team of historians would create the lore for the game. And when you would play the game, you would have these encyclopedia entries, and you could even learn something about history. Like you could learn something real while playing a fictional game. You could read about one of the popes, or you could read about a specific king, or a politician, or an artist that lived in the classical times. And it was fun. I love that. Now you can't anymore, because all of the producers and the people that are making the new Assassin's Creed have given up on trying to recreate and do this immersion. How do you expect me to get immersed when I can play as a woman in ancient Greece? And by the way, like this would be a cool thing if they did. It would be a really nice thing if they did it properly. So it's not just like a skin change and your character just looks like a woman, something that any modder could have forced into the game if they wanted to. The characters around you do not interact as if you're a woman. They do not go like, why is a woman on a horse with a weapon? Like, that's bizarre. They should act like it's something weird. Do you remember in Game of Thrones when Arya Stark had to make herself look like a boy so she can pass undetected in a very harsh society where your life would be in danger if you were traveling between cities because the roads were filled with various bandits and evildoers? And wasn't it cool when Arya made friends with another boy? And then there's like this reveal when he finds out that she is not only a girl, but she's also from noble blood. And, you know, it's that really cool dramatic moment that the characters are experiencing. Isn't that awesome? Isn't that good writing? Right? You're not going to see it in Ubisoft. You're not going to see it as long as the corporations are killing the creativity of their artists. Because that's how it goes. You know, the artist has a vision about the game. They have their own belief. But most fascist corporations, they come down like a hammer and they say, no, the people in the press are calling us sexist because you do not have a woman character in the game. You need to put one or you're getting fired. So they try to accommodate and they shoehorn something in to please the journalist. The journalist is pleased, corporate is pleased, and the only people who aren't pleased are the gamers who now can't even properly play the game because it's filled with bugs. Yeah, you know, like the new Assassin's Creed, the one with the Vikings. Go on YouTube and look for it. Like, there's a compilation of many people showing all the bugs and how difficult and broken the game is, but you don't see that from the press because the press is happy. Oh, it's got a woman in the game. Ah, so progressive, and it even has boot sex, if I'm not mistaken. Yes, boot sex. In a game where you get to assassinate people, the first thing that I want to care about is what genital does my character have and where do they want to stick it. Where do we want to stick the genital? Stick it. It's like... what gamer actually cares when climbing a historical building? It's like, yeah, but what genital does my character have? Like, this is what I want to know. This is what I really want to know. Who do they have sex with? Yes, Altair. You know, he's a great assassin. He's like, yeah, he might, you know, just rethink the order of the Hasashin. But who does he fuck with? Like, that's what I want. You know, like, if this representation is a real thing and they legitimately care about it, like, okay, are we going to have an 85-year-old assassin? Because I'm pretty sure, like, some of the elderly and some of the more senior citizens would like to play this game as well, and they want to be represented. Now, what about, like, an underage assassin? Because I'm pretty sure there might be 16-year-olds and 15-year-olds that want to play this game, and they can't identify with a grown-ass man. And by the way, like, this is what the journalist really thinks, the game journalist, like, this is legitimately what they think. They think that the reason girls don't play Assassin's Creed is because they think men are icky. So they can't really sit down and play a video game with a man as a main character because men are icky. And if you were to give them a female character, then they can play the game, because that's fine. You know, girls' rules. Men are icky. When you take their ideas and you put it on paper, they sound retarded because they are. And by the way, like, I'm not even saying that games can't have female characters. Like, I would love to see an Assassin's Creed that takes place in ancient China or in Japan, and you get to play as a female character, but she's not very good at combat. She's not going to kick 4 or 5 men twice her size, but she's really good at stealth and infiltration, and I would think that would be a great game. I would actually, despite the fact that I'm not buying any more Assassin's Creed, I would pay money to buy that. And I would play that game. But it has to be done properly. It has to be done through some sort of a historical context. Remember Battlefield 5? You know, instead of putting a paraplegic woman on the box, why not create a game where you have like a single player option to play as a woman that's a mother and she's trying to get her children to safety. And she's like, you know, trying to survive through the ruins of Russia as the Nazis are invading. Wouldn't that be a cool game to play? That would be a cool game to play because it would actually make some fucking sense within the immersion of the story. It would have some consistency. It would make for some good lore. And you know, like, I get the argument that they're using. It's like, oh yes, but there were like these exceptions, and you had this woman here and this woman there throughout time period and throughout history. Perfect. Imagine if they were to make a game about the Black Liberation Movement and in the United States, and it would star as a white guy that's fighting, you know, on behalf of Martin Luther King. How do you think that game would be received? Now, I would understand the outrage, and you would even have a point, like, okay, yeah, I mean, there were a couple of characters that were white, but like, that's not what people expect. That's not what they want. You know, like, imagine making a game about, you know, ancient Africa, and you have a white guy in there. Maybe it's like some lost Viking that lost his way throughout the trade route, but like, come on. You know, like, that's not what people think. That's not what people expect. So, and if you do make one of these outliers, like you do make one of these very rare cases that you know, it's kind of weird, but like maybe it can work, then make it so that the world around them recognize the fact that it is weird and it is rare. And that's maybe something that a lot of people would like to play. So yeah, I don't know why Ubisoft is shocked. I mean, the only reason they're shocked is because they listen to the journalists rather than polling and listening to their community. It's actually disgusting that in 2020, when the technology exists, gaming communities still listen to journalists. All they would have to do would be when you log on the Ubisoft server, you would have to answer a couple of questions. And then you'd be like, well, according to the polling we did to our customers, this is what the customer wants. And they would be like, do you want a female in Assassin's Creed? And people could vote. If they vote yes, then yeah. I personally think what the customer wants right now is an Assassin's Creed that takes place in Asia. Whether that is in China or Japan, that is what people want. And they just flat out refuse to give it to them. Maybe they don't even know because the journalist doesn't tell them. And they would also want a game that works and a game without microtransactions, if possible. If possible. But, again, that's not something that the gatekeeper would inform the company. Let me know what you think in the comments section. If you have a different opinion than me, I would love to hear it. And I will see you guys there.